What's going on, guys? Mickle here, and we have some breaking news to talk about today. Ripple just got a massive win in the case against the SEC, and this could force the SEC to come to the table and settle this case once and for all. This is absolutely huge and changes the landscape of this entire case. I've also been talking to John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan on Twitter. You guys are definitely going to want to see what they have to say about Congress stepping in and providing XRP the clarity it needs, regardless of what the SEC thinks. I also have a brand new partnership to show you guys at the end of this video, one that you probably haven't seen before. Make sure you guys stick around for that. If you've been supporting this channel by subscribing, thank you so much. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider it. It's really going to go a long way in helping me grow this channel. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I really hope you enjoy this content, and let's jump right into it. Alrighty guys, so Ripple just got a massive win in this court case, and we're going to break it down right now. This win could be absolutely instrumental in forcing the SEC to come to the table and settle this case once and for all. As we can see right here, James K. Filan tweeted out, breaking DPP decision, Ripple's motion is granted in part. What this is essentially Ripple was trying to get very early documents from the SEC relating to early decision making on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. We know from our understanding of this court case that the SEC has had a very hard time articulating any reason why it believes Ethereum should not be considered a security and XRP should be. What we can understand from this is the fact that very likely in the SEC's early decision making, they likely also had a very hard time making this distinction. When Ripple is able to get these documents from the SEC, which the court just ruled that they will be able to get these documents, it's going to prove to the court that this entire time the SEC has really just been making up regulation as it goes and has never had a firm idea or ever provided any firm guidance to the market explaining what is a security and what is not. This is going to go a long way in proving the SEC's incompetence and proving that Ripple should have never known or ever thought that XRP could possibly be a security. This is absolutely huge, and if we take a look at what documents were ruled on, we can see that Ripple actually won a ton of these documents being handed over. All the documents highlighted in green are going to have to be handed over from the SEC to Ripple, and as we can see scrolling through here, there is a lot. More than half of these documents are going to have to be handed over, and this is really even better than I thought it could be. This is going to go a long way for Ripple proving its points to the court, and while it's very hard for me, and I'm going to need some more time to break down exactly which documents Ripple is going to get and which ones they're not, I think it's fair to say that even Ripple getting any of these documents are going to go a very long way. The SEC was doing its best from the beginning of this case not to hand over any of these documents, so the fact that they're going to be receiving so many of them is likely going to be enough for them to prove the SEC's incompetence in the regulation of the cryptocurrency industry at large. And if we take a look at some responses by some people, I haven't seen anything from Jeremy Hogan or John Deaton yet. I know they're probably dying to weigh in on this, so I'm going to be looking forward to those videos. But Stephen Hubert tweets out, "Man, how I needed this good news. The SEC must hand over the documents to Ripple. Finally, the next thing that will be that the SEC will now look to black everything out of the documents, and Ripple will have to request that not everything be blacked out. Want to bet?" He's essentially poking fun at the fact that he believes the SEC is going to try to hand over these documents with everything redacted so they can't see anything. We'll have to see. We know these documents are being handed over to Ripple. We know they're going to go a long way in proving Ripple's case. This is going to be massive, and regardless if it takes some more time to get them over there, we know this is a huge win and proves that we really are on the right side of this thing. We can also see Wrath Economin tweeted out, "Good news, noted the objectively reckless in the opening." I think this has to do with the SEC not handing over these documents thus far. Like I said, there's still a lot to break down here, but the news so far is extremely bullish and is going to go a long way in proving Ripple's innocence. If we keep going, I want to hit on something else, and this has to do with the lengthening of this discovery statement. John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan actually weighed in on this, and I think this is something you need to see. Stephanie Huppert tweets out, the expert discovery started in September. By the end of this week, a total of 8 out of 16 witnesses had been interviewed. That makes one witness every 2 weeks. That makes one expert witness per month for each party. And then the clown emoji, essentially he's just poking fun at the fact how long this discovery process is taking. I think it's kind of crazy. Also, it's pretty wild that discovery was supposed to end in November, and now almost 3 months later, it's still being delayed. It makes me think there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I think a lot of other people agree with this as well. We can see right here, this is a tweet from a guy named Brian, and he says, fishiest part, XRP Army, both sides agree that remaining depositions will take place in February regardless of the state of COVID. So even if COVID is worse than it is now, it's going to happen. Okay, then why not do it now? And essentially he's saying both parties came together and said, we're going to delay this case because of COVID. But if COVID keeps staying bad, we're not going to delay the case again. How does this make any sense? Why'd they even delay in the first place? If they can just get all this done regardless of COVID, why didn't they just get it all done regardless of COVID to start with? I think it has to do with a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. And in one of my earlier videos, I speculated to the fact that this could have to do with upcoming regulation. We're going to get into that later in the video, so make sure you stick around for that. We can see even Jeremy Hogan is kind of questioning the fact. He says, I was in depositions all day by Zoom, pointing out, saying, why, if there's COVID and everyone's saying that this expert discovery could easily get done regardless of COVID, why didn't it just get done over Zoom? This entire court case has been done over the telephone, been done over Zoom, so it begs the question, why hasn't it just continued over Zoom? And also begs the question, is this really, this COVID thing really just an excuse to delay this lawsuit for another reason? Is it possible that the sides are coming together trying to reach an agreement and they just wanted to buy themselves some more time? I think this is very interesting, and there's been a lot of different people questioning this delay from the start, and especially the reason when you have a telephonic conference that's been over the phone this entire time, and now suddenly they're using something like COVID as an excuse. I think it's super interesting, but I think it's important to note that both sides agreed to it, so we have to assume that it was in the best interest of Ripple, or else it does not make any sense that Ripple would have agreed to this extension. Something I tweeted out yesterday and I thought was super interesting, I said, critical question we need to be asking lawyers right now. If Congress passes a law giving clarity to XRP, what is the impact of Ripple and the SEC still being in discovery versus discovery being over? And what I'm pointing out is I wanted to get from the lawyers, I wanted to know whether or not if Congress passes a law giving XRP clarity, does it matter whether this court case is in discovery or not? I thought it was pretty interesting, and I pointed out the other day that Tom Emmer actually tweeted out, new digital currency legislation coming soon, and the next day the court was extended. I was wondering if possibly the court was moving back the discovery deadline so that when this new legislation got passed, the court case was still in discovery. So I asked Jeremy Hogan and John Deaton, is there any reason why this would make a difference, and was Ripple and the SEC purposely pushing the discovery longer so that this new legislation would fall within the discovery period? So Jeremy Hogan says the timing wouldn't matter after or before discovery as long as the legislation is passed before a final judgment is entered, which makes sense. Pretty much what he's saying is it doesn't matter. If Congress steps in, they step in. It doesn't matter at what point in the case it is as long as it's before a final verdict. But he does say something extremely interesting that we need to be paying attention to. He says Congress can pass a law retroactively and it would end the case, but that is very rare. More likely new legislation would be proactive only and clarify sales of XRP from that point forward. That likely means relisting, etc., and John Deaton is out of the case and satisfied. So what he's saying is very unlikely for Congress to pass a law completely ending the case. But he does think it's possible that Congress could step into the case and say XRP going forward is not a security, Whether Ripple did something wrong in the past, that's still up for the debate, and that court case can keep going. But that doesn't really matter to us XRP investors. Whether Ripple gets a slap on the wrist or not doesn't impact us. We just want to know that XRP has clarity going forward, and I think Jeremy Hogan makes a very good point here. This, if ruled on by Congress, giving XRP clarity, would essentially be our ticket out of the case and provide us with the clarity we need to hold XRP confidently into the future and for exchanges to be confident relisting the asset. This is pretty massive, and I think this was a pretty important distinction to get out there. John Dean also weighed in on it, and he said Congress could pass a law effectively ending the lawsuit, just as Jeremy Hogan said. He said the chances of a bill passing the House and Senate this calendar year is slim to none. I hope I'm proven wrong. I doubt they can even get a vote on the floor. It's why we must get rid of all the anti-crypto politicians. He's just saying he thinks it's highly unlikely this will pass, but we do have to take into account that Tom Ember did say new digital currency legislation coming soon. So unless he was just talking about rules that aren't going to be passed and just propositions, I think this is still something we have to keep in mind. I feel like he wouldn't tweet this unless he knew something was coming down the road, and if this does have the potential to prove that XRP sales going forward are not securities, it could still be massive in getting the XRP holder out of this case and letting Ripple focus on what they did in the past with the SEC, letting them carry that down the road. Maybe they get a slap on the wrist, but we will no longer have to worry going forward that our XRP could be declared a security of Ripple. We've known the entire time that this is an absurd statement to make, but it would be nice to have the clarity, the laws written in rules that we have been right from the start, and the SEC is just picking a fight they were destined to lose. The last thing I wanted to show you guys, because I thought this was super cool, I didn't know it, but it turns out that one of a company that I'm actually investing into, a massive player in the stablecoin industry, Circle, is actually partnered with Ripple and XRP. Circle has been partnering with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, XLM, Algorand, HBAR, and I always thought it was extremely fishy that they had never made a public announcement that they were going to be issuing the USDC on the XRP ledger. Well, I have a feeling the only reason they haven't is because they're already getting a lot of scrutiny from the US government. The last thing they wanted to do was probably team up with another project who's also being scrutinized by the US government, but it makes sense that they've had the partnership this entire time, and they're likely just holding out and waiting for clarity to come to this market. It made me super happy to see two of my favorite companies working together. This is a partnership I haven't seen too many people talk about at all, and one that I'm super excited for. Last thing, make sure you go to my Twitter and retweet this right here. It's essentially a document that will allow you to instantly contact your congressman, and it's a pre-filled out letter from John Deaton exposing the corruption at the SEC. Make sure you go to my Twitter, fill out this document, retweet this so everyone you know sees it. This is going to go a long way in putting pressure on the SEC by letting our congressmen know that we are not happy with their regulation. Guys, if you're still here right now, thank you so much for coming. Make sure you like and subscribe. It goes such a long way in helping support my channel. Thank you so much for coming. For now, Mickle out.